يرتع ويلعب وإنا له لحافظون. They said, let him come with us tomorrow to play and have fun, and we will keep an eye on him. So they said, we will let him play, we'll keep an eye on him. So they didn't let him play, they didn't keep an eye on him, right? So it didn't make any sense to their father. Also, they came and they said exactly the same thing that their father had warned them about. He said, I'm afraid that the wolf will eat him. So they came and they said, less than 24 hours later, okay, the wolf ate him. They should have said something else. A mountain lion, a tiger, a hyena, something else. Why the exact same words, right? So something was very suspicious. Also, the story of the shirt. So what they did, as the ayah says, وَجَاءُوا عَلَى قَمِيصِهِ بِدَمٍ كَذِبٍ. So they put false blood on his shirt. So what they did, basically, they found a dead goat or something, or they slaughtered a goat and they took the blood and they stained the shirt. So what happened when they brought the shirt to their father? He looked at the shirt. It was nice and clean, but it has some blood on it. So according to the Tafsir, they say, their father said, I've never seen a wolf which is more gentle than this one. He ate my son and he didn't even leave a scratch on his shirt. What is this? A wolf or a lion or all these predators, when they eat something, they always scratch it and cut it, and there must be some scratches or cuts in the shirt, but the shirt is very intact, like nothing happened to the shirt. What is going on? So the story didn't add up. So he said to them, eventually he said, no, I know all of this is a lie. This never happened. I can only endure with beautiful patience, because he knew, and he said, وَأَعْلَمُ مِنَ اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. I know from Allah what you don't know. By this he means that I know that my son will come back to me at the end, right? Because this is what Allah had told me. Then he said, فَصَبْرٌ جَمِيلٌ. What is beautiful patience? Anyone? Beautiful patience? الصبر الجميل. Hey, Yusuf. Huh? You don't complain to who? You don't complain to the people. But if you complain to Allah, it's still sabrun jamil. Because Yaqub alayhi salam was complaining to Allah all the time. You see what my kids did to me? I'm having a difficult... He's complaining to Allah, but he was not complaining to his children. At the end of the story, when he lost his second son, Binyamin, وَتَوَلَّى عَنْهُمْ وَقَالَ أَسَفَ عَلَى يُوسُف. He was saying this to Allah. He was crying and he said, Ya Allah, you see what happened to my son and all these things. وَبْيَضَّتْ عَيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْحُزْنِ. His eyes turned white. He didn't go blind, as we will see. His eyes turned blind. He became very weak-sighted, but he didn't lose his eyesight completely. And this is what most of the Mufassirun say. فَهُوَ كَظِيمٌ. Kadhim in Arabic means that he is suppressing his anguish, his agony, his pain. He's keeping it to himself. So Kadhim, he's keeping his pain and his agony to himself. He's not sharing it with his children. But he was crying privately because he was not complaining to them. The Quran talks about three different things. في الصبر الجميل, وفي الصفح الجميل, وفي الهجر الجميل. So الصبر الجميل, beautiful patience. When something bad happens, or you're patient, you're not complaining to people. And also الصفح الجميل is when you forgive someone, you don't remind them of the wrong they did. This is called الصفح الجميل. So when you forgive someone, like say for example, you have a fight with your wife because you did something wrong, you came late from work, something. You promised her to take her out to the movies or something. Something came up, you couldn't go. Now, okay, she forgave you and everything, right? Then 10 years, something happened, right? Like you forgot her anniversary. Okay, you become a traitor overnight. She will say, you know what? Do you remember when you came late half an hour 10 years ago? Do you remember when you didn't buy me the gift? This is like 10, 15 years ago. This is not a safh al-jamil. If you forgive someone, you don't talk about what they did. Yusuf alayhi salam, and this is why we mentioned this before, he's called al-kareem. Because al-kareem is someone who does a safh al-jamil, those who do beautiful forgiving. If they forgive you, they don't remind you of what you did in the past. So at the end, when Yusuf alayhi salam spoke about the favors of Allah, he said, وَقَدْ أَحْسَنَ بِي إِذْ أَخْرَجَنِي مِنَ السِّجْنِ وَجَاءَ بِكُم مِنَ الْبَدْوِ. He has done a lot of favors to me when he took me out of the jail and when he brought you, my family, from the desert all the way to Egypt. But he didn't talk about his brothers throwing him in the well, because that was the root of all evil, right? This is where it all started. They say because he already forgave them, right? So he didn't want to remind them of what they did to him. This is as-safh al-jamil, beautiful forgiving. Also, al-hajr al-jamil, wahjurhum hajran jamila. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam to keep away from the kuffar, wahjurhum hajran jamila, stay away from them without harming them, without attacking them. So this is al-hajr al-jamil. The reason why Yaqub alayhi salam, and this is also a lesson for all of us, to have beautiful patience, as-sabr al-jamil, and you don't complain to the people. Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, من اشتكى إلى الناس فقد أساء الأدب مع الله. لماذا؟ لأنه الإنسان قال لأنه من اشتكى الناس أو الله إلى الناس فإنه لا يعلم الله ولا يعلم الناس، فلو يعلم الناس ما اشتكى إليهم ولو يعلم الله ما اشتكى. So Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah says, those who complain to people about what happened to them, what Allah did to them, they complain about the qadr of Allah, they are actually impolite with Allah. Why? He says, because they complain about the most merciful to those who have no mercy, right? And he says, if you complain to people about Allah, basically you don't know the people and you don't basically know Allah. Because if you know Allah, you will never complain about Him. Everything that happens to you happens for a reason. You don't know the reason. Wallahu ya'lamu wa antum la ta'lamun. Maybe you will hate something, it is good for you. Maybe you will love something, it is bad for you, and Allah knows and you don't know. Right? So this is what the ayah says for Surah Al-Baqarah. So this is the beauty of ibtila. This is the sunnah of life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us in this dunya for ibtila. Right? إِنَّا خَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ مِن نُطْفَةٍ أَمْشَاجٍ نَبْتَلِيهِ. Right? We created human beings from an egg and sperm to test them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we created you to test you. تبارك الذي بيده الملك وعلى كل شيء قدير الذي خلق الموت والحياة ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. Allah created you to test you. The examples are so many. وَنَبْلُوكُمْ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ فِتْنَةً وَبِالْخَيْرِ وَالشَّرِّ فِتْنَةً. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will test you with good and bad. في سورة العنكبوت أحسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون ولقد فتنا الذين من قبلهم فلا يعلمن الله الذين صدقوا ولا يعلمن الكاذبين. والله سبحانه وتعالى لسه هيعلمنا. الآية معناها ليعلمكم. تمام. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we will test you all the time, we will put you to the test. And it says literally, so Allah will know who is truthful about their faith and who is faking, who is lying. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala already knows. He doesn't do this to know who is truthful, who is honest, and who is faking. So the actual translation of the ayah, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will distinguish those who are telling the truth and from those who are lying. Or so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will show to you, because He already knows those who are truthful and those who are lying. So this is one of the reasons why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is always putting us to the test. This is the sunnah of life. They say, when gold, how do you get the purest gold? Is when they put you in the fire, right? So all the garbage, all of the impurities, all of these things will be removed, and you will be left with pure gold. So this is what happens to a believer. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says that يعني أشد الناس ابتلاء الأنبياء. يعني no one goes through tests and difficulties more than the prophets, الأنبياء. ثم يبتلى الأمثل فالأمثل كل رجل أو كل امرئ على قدر دينه. Then those who are next to them in righteousness and goodness, they will be tested all the time. We said before that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will put you to the test to test your iman, to show you if you are telling the truth about your faith or not. Or maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will remove your evil deeds through the test. The Prophet ﷺ says, لا يزال البلاء بالمؤمن في نفسه وماله وولده حتى يلقى الله وما عليه خطيئة. Sahih Tirmidhi. The Prophet ﷺ says, Allah will always put the believer to the test in their health, in their family, in their wealth, until they meet Allah with no sins. So if you have sins, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He knows something good about you, right? Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he says if someone is doing something haram, and they make tawbah, they ask Allah to forgive them, this is a sign that Allah loves you. Because if He doesn't love you, He will never make it easy for you to remember Him and make tawbah to Him. Right? لأن Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if Allah wanted to punish you, He will never let you make tawbah to Him. So the fact that He lets you make tawbah, it means that He loves you. So we have two options. Either He will cover you in this dunya, He will not guide you to tawbah, then He will humiliate you in front of billions and billions of people from the time of Adam till the day of judgment, or you will make tawbah to Him in this dunya, khalas, your board is clean. So once you make tawbah, التائب من الذنب كمن لا ذنب له. The Prophet ﷺ says, if you make tawbah, then this board, this sheet, your book will be clean. The sin will not be there. It will not show in your book as long as you make a good tawbah. Or maybe Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take something from you. Say for example, your wife will die, or your husband will divorce you, or your wife will ask for divorce, right? And you are a good person. Maybe this will happen because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to give you something better for you. You will lose a job, right? Because Allah is giving you something better, right? This happens all the time. Someone, when they get laid off, they keep crying, what is this? I don't have a job, I don't have anything to do. Then you realize the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala got you fired was because He had something better for you. But you don't know, you don't see it, right? So you have to be accepting of qadar Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you should know that ibtila is good for you. And this is what will help you to get over it. Who sold Yusuf alayhi salam? There is a twist in the story that is not very clear in a lot of tafsir, that when they put him in the well, actually the word used in the surah, غيابة الجب. الجب, there is a difference between jub and bi'r in Arabic. A bi'r is the well that is built. It's fixed. They put like stones, they put a top for it, and it has a bucket and everything. It is ready to be used. But jub is basically a pit, a water pit. It doesn't have like stones at the top. It doesn't have a bucket or everything. And usually a water pit in a distant place where there are not a lot of people there, in this case. So they say that the travelers who came to this jub, this water pit, they got lost in the desert because this road was not frequented by the people, so not a lot of people were passing by in that place, right? So they went there, they sent the water boy, he had his bucket with him, so he put it there. When Yusuf alayhi salam saw it, okay, khalas. He held the bucket and he didn't leave it. So the man started to pull, and Yusuf alayhi salam came out, and he was very handsome, mashallah. So when he saw him, he said, oh, what a great find. This is a boy. And he took him, and he took him to the people of his group, and they sold him as a slave. Who sold him as a slave? So the Mufassirun, they say it could be the group, the travelers, they sold him. and they wanted to get rid of him right away. Why? Because maybe someone else lost him. They will come and they will claim him. Khalas, we will lose him. We will not make money out of this deal. So this is why وَكَانُوا فِيهِ مِنَ الزَّاهِدِينَ. They just wanted to get rid of him fast. A lot of Mufassirun, they say that the ones who sold Yusuf were his own brothers. Some of them, they would come every day to check on him. And when some people came, like the caravan, and they found Yusuf, they took him out. So his brothers came and they said, we know this guy, he is our slave. So they said, what do you want? They said, okay, if you want him, we will sell him to you. Okay, so they sold him for a cheap price, his own brothers. Why? Because maybe someone will find him and they will give him back to his father. They will look for his father, they will give him back. So they said the best way to get rid of him completely is not to keep him in the well, because maybe somebody will find him and take him and give him back to our father. The best way is to sell him to some people who are going to a distant place. And this group, they were coming from Midian and they were going to Egypt, to Cairo. So they sold him. Why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala specify a few silver coins? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't normally do this. He would say, وَشَرَوْهُ بِثَمَنٍ قَلِيلٍ بِثَمَنٍ بَخْسٍ وَكَانُوا فِيهِ مِنَ الزَّاهِدِينَ. This is what Allah would normally say in other places in the Quran. They sold him for a cheap price, only wanted to get rid of him. Why did he talk about the few silver coins? And some of the ulama say, بَخْسٍ, it means that the silver coins were fake. They were not even silver, right? So they sold him for very cheap, right? Why does Allah say this? So some of the ulama say that the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned the coins, the few silver coins, fake coins, it has something to do with the story, at the end of the story. When they came to their brother, Yusuf, when he became the minister of Egypt, they came and they said, we have no food in our house, we're starving, we need food badly. The only thing we have is a few silver coins. And they are fake. Right? So they said, give us the food and give us charity because we don't have enough money. Right? So you see the twist of the story, right, at the end. So this reminded Yusuf alayhi salam, because he told them right after, when they told him about the few fake coins they sold him for, and they came to him with, similar coins, few coins, fake coins, just right when they said this, we came with these coins, we don't have food, so please do charity to us because we're starving. The next line, do you remember what you did to me a long time ago? It's the exact same thing, right? So this beautiful twist in the story that a lot of Mufassirun, they don't touch on when they talk about the story. Now inshallah we'll talk about something, a ruling very quick. Yusuf alayhi salam was very precious, right? And his brother sold him for very cheap, as we see in the story. Can you buy something precious for very cheap? Yani say for example, someone is leaving the country, they have to go, right? And they are selling their van or they are selling their house for less than half of the value. Someone, for example, the van is worth 10,000, they're selling it for 3,000 or 4,000 because they have to leave, they have to go home, right? They're getting evicted or they are getting deported, they have to go. Or they want to leave Canada altogether, they just want to go. Some families are worried for their kids, they have to go to Libya, to Egypt, to Somalia, they just want to leave. Sudan, they don't want to live here, they want to sell everything and go. If they advertise on Kijiji that this house is worth 10,000, or actually this car is worth 10,000, we're selling it for 3 or 2,000, can you buy it?
No.
Why?
Something wrong with it.
No, most of them they say we're doing this because we're leaving the country. Okay, so would you still buy it for 3?
Yes.
Less than the value? In fiqh, yes, because they offered. But If you go to them and you say, you guys, you know you are leaving the country, and this is a good car, this is a good house. You need time to sell it for the right price. But what I will do, because time is very crucial for you, I'm gonna take it. I know it's worth 10, but I will take it for 3. This is haram. If they offer the car for 3,000, yes, you can buy it from them. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala didn't comment on what happened. He didn't say selling him for a few silver coins was wrong, because this is what they were willing to sell him for, right? So if someone is offering something for cheap, so it's like a steal, because this is what they wanted to do. You didn't force them or anything. As long as they are doing it of their own free will, you are allowed to take it. If you give them the actual price, it's up to you. If you give them what they're asking for, it's up to you, right? But if you take advantage of the situation and you squeeze their arm, you twist their arm, right? To take it against their will, because you know that they need the money badly. Or someone is having a surgery, they need to pay a lot of money, and you know that the guy will die if they don't sell the house or the car. You go to them, your brother is dying, I feel sorry for you. My heart pumps Kool-Aid for you. So what I will do, I know that the van is worth 10 or 15, I'm gonna give you 4,000. And you put the money on the table. Sah. They say money talks, money walks, money does everything. So as soon as they see the cash, they'll say, it's either our brother or our sister or the van. You know what? Take the van. So this is haram, because you're twisting their arm, right? You're forcing them, and you're taking advantage of their situation. What are you going to do if it's a Muslim brother, and if someone is in this situation, and instead of buying their van, which they need, just to their brother will do the surgery, you can lend them the money, right? And don't take it less than the value. Give them the money. Tell them you can pay it by installments, 1,000 every month, because the money is sitting in my savings account. I'm not using it. So keep the money for 3-4 months. You can commit it to writing and give me the money back. Wallahi, they will appreciate it, and they will do a lot of dua for you. And this is the humanity that Islam teaches. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Baqarah, وَإِن كَانَ ذُو عُسْرَةٍ فَنَظِرَةٌ إِلَى مَيْسَرَةٍ وَأَن تَصَدَّقُوا خَيْرٌ لَكُمْ إِن كُنتُمْ تَعْلَمُونَ. Allah says, if someone is in a difficult situation and they are not able to pay on time, then give them more time until a time of ease. فَنَظِرَةٌ إِلَى مَيْسَرَةٍ وَأَن تَصَدَّقُوا. If you drop some of the money as a sadaqah or part of your zakah, this is the best for you, if you only knew. So this is the humanity. If we just follow this, and you don't charge people riba for giving them more time, and you give them more time if they are not able to pay on time, you drop some of the money as sadaqah or zakah, this is the humanity of Islam. People don't have to go to jail. People don't have to put their homes for foreclosure because they are not able to pay all the rent and the interest and the compound interest and all that nonsense. At the end, نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يعلمنا ما ينفعنا وأن ينفعنا بما علمنا. A couple of announcements. Now Surah Yusuf, the whole surah, is now revised with the Arabic. It's available on my website, so you can write it down. Or if you just go to Google Mustafa Khattab website, or you just put www.mustafakhattab.weebly.com/downloads, and you will find the surah in different formats. You'll find it in PDF or Word file, so you can download it, print it out, and when you come to the halaqah, you can take notes on the translation. Or what you can do, actually can read the whole translation. It's 12 pages, the whole surah, English with the Arabic. And if there's something that is not clear in the translation, maybe we can discuss it together. Maybe I can fix it, inshallah, in the file. Now, inshallah, we'll go downstairs. I need some of you, those who have time, we need just 2-3 minutes. We'll take all the clothes, donate it for Syria, and we'll put it in the basement of the building next to the masjid, under An-Nur store, if you have some time, inshallah. نسأل الله سبحانه وتعالى أن يعلمنا ما ينفعنا وينفعنا بما علمنا وصلى اللهم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وجزاكم الله خير. Any questions?
Two questions.
Yes, inshallah.